Well, good evening again. Politically incorrect old white guy here with a random collection of thoughts on current developments. First off, just some predictions I have made or some thoughts I've shared in the past seem to be materializing. Uh, the It's been announced that the agency FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency or authority, whatever they call themselves, is going to be disbanded. Hallelujah. And their function will be distributed among or devolved to the states, which is something that I advocated for in a previous session. So that's good to hear. Um, Other developments that seem to be moving right along. There's some talk that the tariff revenue, which is, by the way, not reflected in the CBO projection of the financials associated with the big beautiful bill, their rules don't allow them to count tariff revenue because that has not been legislatively entrenched. It's at the moment tariffs are in place under executive order, which can be overturned. So they don't count the tariff revenue over the 10-year horizon. But there's now more and more discussion about tariff revenue being used to substantially reduce or even eliminate federal income taxes. Under my proposed model of government, the federal government would rely on two sources of revenue. One would be tariff revenue, and the other would be pro rata contributions from the states, pro rata to population, and there would be I repeat, no federal income tax. So it seems like things are drifting in that direction. The third development that I have to pat myself in the back on is the Musk meltdown. I previously stated that I thought this Doge effort was ill-conceived and just more trouble than it's worth. That has proven to be correct. The big beautiful bill does not reflect the Doge savings apparently, and that's why Musk is in a tizzy. So the whole thing has just created a bunch of opposition from people whose cheese is being moved. And there's going to be little, if any, benefit as the levels of spending are just in the budget bill are just as they were. In other words, they have not again baked in the savings from the Doge initiatives because none of that stuff was approved by Congress. So unfortunately, that has led to this tiff between Trump and Musk, which now makes both of them look foolish, and it costs the administration credibility. The naysayers are saying, well, they're rubbing their hands with glee and saying, well, I told you so, and we gotten rid of Musk, and Musk was, an illegitimate appointee, et cetera, et cetera. So that whole saga seems to be fizzling out. And again, you heard it here first. So back to current developments. Obviously, there are a number of volatile and fast-moving situations that are hard to predict. The riots that are breaking out, not only in Los Angeles, but in other major blue cities around the country and even in Dallas, Texas, are a repeat or look awfully like a repeat of the BLM riots that took place however long ago that was. So a bunch of destruction of private property, totally counterproductive. Obviously, some orchestration going on. And one has to wonder, how that makes sense in a country that's up to its eyeballs in debt. You go around destroying our capital stock, vehicles, buildings, and so on. They, might be covered by insurance, but at the end of the day, somebody pays. And destroying the country's capital stock is not helping our credit worthiness. We have massive debts, and we need to conserve our assets, not burn them. So this is a very unfortunate development led by some people who obviously have an agenda. And here's what I believe the agenda is. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. In order to have a Marxist revolution, you need a large disaffected class. Up till now, the United States has no such disaffected class. Even the working class is prosperous by any objective standards in the United States. If you are educated and apply yourself, there's no way in the United States under our capitalist system that you're going to be deprived and wanting to take part in some kind of bloody revolution. That happens in countries like Cuba, Venezuela, Russia, where you have a large class of people that are living in poverty on the edge and feel that they have nothing to lose. So in order to bring about a revolution in the United States, you need to create some Bolsheviks. And since there are not enough Bolsheviks available domestically, the way you proceed is you import them. And that's what the whole immigration thing was. That was an orchestrated effort, not so much as people have theorized to replace the white sector of the segment of the population, but to provide young people, a whole class of young people who are not invested in the system and who are willing to engage in violent acts. And this is why there is orchestrated opposition to the ICE removals. The people that orchestrated the unchecked immigration of these future foot soldiers are now seeing their army being deported, and they don't like it. So they're doing everything within their power to discredit ICE, to discredit Trump, and to try to stop the deportations, which, if you didn't notice, were approved by the electorate in the recent election. So this is a minority of people who are trying to basically overthrow the will of the people. And this is not to be tolerated. So I'm with the administration, with Trump here, in taking a hard line and continuing with the deportations and trying to intimidate the organizers of these riots. What these people do is they look for flashpoints. In the prior situation, it was the death of I want to say Rodney King, but Rodney King was the guy in LA. It was his name will come back to me in a second. The imposing looking black guy who died while under arrest by police in Minneapolis. So that was a catalyst or a cause which which the organizers then expropriated or took advantage of to create mayhem. And in this more recent case, George Floyd was his name. Sorry, as I said, I'm a politically incorrect old white guy, and the memory recall sometimes gets jammed up. In this current situation, it's the deportation of illegal immigrants, aka undocumented citizens or undocumented aliens or friends and neighbors or whatever term the opposition wants to use to make them appear to be legitimate. So there's some obviously discontent about that, and these organizers are fanning those flames by bringing in black masked people to hand out rocks, frozen water bottles, face shields, and just generally stoke the fires. And in the old days, we used to call that rabble rousing. I guess that's not politically correct anymore, but then again, I'm not politically correct. So let's just call it rabble rousers. It's not clear where that's going to end up, but I suspect it'll run its course, and the organizers will wait for the next incident. And there may be an incident in the course of trying to contain these riots. Some poor, sympathetic person might get shot or otherwise meet their maker at the hands of the National Guard or the Marines or the police department in whatever city that these riots are going on. If that happens, that will obviously just accelerate the whole process, and it'll be like pouring gasoline on the flames. So those are my thoughts on the riots. Don't for a minute think it's about sympathy for some poor migrant. It's about the Marxist revolution, that the long game these people are playing, and having their foot soldiers deported is not part of their plan. Frankly, the more criminal minded they are, the more they like them. Who would you rather have? Like, think about the French Foreign Legion. The French Foreign Legion is made up of criminals by definition. So this is the American equivalent, and they're quite happy to have gangbangers, drug runners, human smugglers, murderers, rapists, and so on in their little army, because these people have proven themselves to be prone to violence. And in a revolution, violence is the lubricant that makes the whole process go. So that's what's going on in my mind anyway, with regard to the riots. Then with regard to the Middle East, that's bigger than, United States policy. That's really a chapter in the struggle between religions. The Iranians are on this led by this cadre of religious fanatics that believe that the more Jews and Christians they kill, the more chance they have of of ending up with the proverbial however many virgins it is in their version of heaven. So that's not a political thing, that's a religious thing. And frankly, it surprises me that it's taken this long for Israel to act. Iran has been cooking up these nuclear bombs for years now, and it's pretty clear what they plan to do with them. So and it's pretty clear that Israel has to act preemptively. I'm not sure why they waited this long, really, but they seem to be doing a pretty effective job, and hopefully they will foment some kind of internal insurrection in Iran itself, which will lead to change in the regime there, and this whole chapter will then be closed. And that will be a good thing for everybody. As far as Ukraine is concerned, that's kind of fallen out of the news recently. I think everyone's coming to the realization that, it's time to lay down arms and go back to life as usual, even if that means redrawing some boundaries and what have you. So I think that is on the downswing, and I don't see Putin having any appetite to try to take on another country. He's had his nose bloodied pretty badly by trying to take over Ukraine. And so those are the major conflicts. On a subject of personal interest to me, the Afrikaner refugees. At least 2 more plane loads of Afrikaner refugees have arrived in the United States, and there is zero coverage from the mainstream media and zero outcry from the usual nattering nabobs, to borrow a term from, I believe it was Reagan who used that term. Then the reason for that is simple. Among the refugees that arrived in plane number 2 and plane number 3 are a number of non-Afrikaner refugees who are in the same boat as the Afrikaners, in the sense that they are minorities in South Africa, and as such are subject to the same discriminatory policies. So, that would include, I believe, in these latest arrivals, some people of Indian extraction. There are a lot of Indians in South Africa, and they're quite successful in the business community. But they are not considered to be, they're not black, and therefore they are not in the favored class politically. There are also a couple of individuals of mixed race, which in South Africa is known as coloreds, and they are the result of some of the very early days of the Cape Province, where there was some interbreeding between European settlers and the slave community, which were in many cases imported from Malaysia and Indonesia and Madagascar. And then the domestic Khoisan population. These are the original indigenous inhabitants of Southern Africa, the Khoisan, who either got absorbed into this colored population segment or got chased out of Southern Africa. They were persecuted by the black settlers who moved down from North and Central Africa, West Africa, as well as by the white farmers who you know, reacted to cases of cattle theft and what have you by hunting and persecuting these colloquially these people were known as Bushmen. Um, they are a distinct race, and their survivors still exist today, but they've been chased out of South Africa and are found mainly in the desert regions, arid regions of Namibia and Botswana, when their cattle farming is not really feasible, and therefore there are no black indigenous or black populations, because the culture of the black peoples was based on cattle. That was their livelihood and their currency and what made their society work. So that's where they ended up. Some of their genes are found in this colored population, and some of these colored people have now got on a plane and arrived in the United States and claim that they're persecuted in the same boat as the Afrikaners because they're not black. In South Africa, you have to be black, i.e. of Nguni extraction, in order to be considered as formally disadvantaged, and therefore now currently subject to or favorable treatment under all sorts of laws. I think there are 130 odd laws on the books in South Africa which discriminate against minorities and favor members of the black majority in all spheres of life. So that's why you don't hear anything about these people. The narrative no longer works for the left. And sooner or later, South Africa is going to run out of productive tax-paying citizens if this migration continues. Not much news coming from that part of the world, again, overshadowed by some of the more dramatic developments on the international stage. So that's the extent of my comments for tonight. Hopefully this again proved to be worth your time, and I thank you and wish you a good evening.